All right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are heading down to Kansas City for a crucial wild card matchup, and they may need to, check their parkas this week. It's going to be a cold one, but outside of the temperature, the Dolphins seem to be heating up as far as their endeavors of adding some key depth to this defense in spite of some nasty injuries that have been racking up. The Dolphins made two really crucial veteran additions to this defense that we think are going to be huge for this game going to Kansas City. Nick, let's get into the article and talk about it on the other side. This is from over on the Associated Press. It says the Miami Dolphins signed veteran linebackers Justin Houston and Bruce Irvin on Tuesday and placed three more players on the injured reserve. Houston and Irvin are expected to add depth to a linebacker group that has been decimated by injuries, as Jerome Baker, Cameron Good, and Andrew Van Ginkel have all gone down in the past week. Miami is preparing for its wild card game at Kansas City on Saturday night. Houston is quite familiar with the Chiefs, who selected him in the third round of the 2011 draft. He spent his first 8 of his seasons of his career there before stints with Indianapolis, Baltimore, and the Carolinas most recently. Nick, I think this is really, really big for the Dolphins. Irvin, I think he'll be some good quality depth, veteran depth, has a lot of playoff Super Bowl experience. But I think Houston is the veteran depth that really still can add a lot to this pass rush. Justin Houston has been playing at a very high level. He played at a very high level last season. And I think he can still add a lot to this team in short doses if they're able to rotate some guys in and out. He is getting older, so he might not be able to play quite as many snaps. But this is a guy I think is going to be a big addition to this Dolphins defense. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of these additions for the Dolphins. But Dolphins fans, let us know. Now's the time to put your predictions into the comment section below. Let us know, what are your thoughts on the score for this weekend's game, Kansas City versus Miami, in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you think about these two crucial additions for the Dolphins?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a lot of credit to Miami because sometimes we see teams to get ready for the playoffs, especially if they get hit with the injury bug like the Dolphins. Unfortunately, just have had incredibly bad luck here. They go and say, oh, we're going to rely on our third string guys to step up, which is usually practice squad guys, maybe rookies, undrafted free agents, guys who normally play special teams. I always hate that because you're relying on a guy who hasn't played defense all season long in big time snaps in this case, and now you're going to throw him in with big time snaps. I love going out and getting veterans, guys who have been involved in the postseason before, because you're not going to replace the production of all these guys completely. You're just trying to, as much as you can, get some level of production that you can expect. Essentially, when it comes to what the Dolphins are trying to do here with Irvin and with Houston, they're trying to buy one stop, maybe two on third down situations of the Chiefs offense. That's all they're trying to do, right? Because obviously with the injuries, you're not going to replace all the production and the playmaking ability. You're just trying to mitigate as much of the damage and as much of the risk as possible. But I want to focus on this entire matchup right here from the Chiefs and Dolphins perspective, because everything I'm hearing in the media right now, all the buzz is the Chiefs are going to run away with this game. The Dolphins are totally imploding, yada, 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 yada. But there are two interesting facts I want to talk about and cover here real quick. And then, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are. One, if you look at what Vegas has done and the line that Vegas set on the outside of this matchup, right? Vegas, smart money. They make billions of dollars trying to be accurate. The Chiefs on the onset of this game were 3.5-point favorites at home. I'm going to repeat that again. The defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, two-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, with a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback at home, we're only a 3.5-point favorite, which for anyone who knows gambling, 3 points usually is given to the home team. So in terms of talent and roster, Vegas sees this essentially the Chiefs half a point better than Miami. That's a sign that this game is going to be a lot closer and a lot more competitive than people think. And one of the things I always hark on when it comes to the postseason is quarterback play. And if you look at the data, you just look at the stats. I know it's apples to oranges here comparing Mahomes and Tua, but if you look at the numbers, it's not even close. Yards per game, Tua. Yards per attempt, Tua. Passing touchdowns, Tua. Interceptions, both Mahomes and Tua are tied. Passer rating, Tua. Across the board, Tua is better statistically than Mahomes all season long. The best weapon for the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, is having a much better year, much more impactful than the best weapon for the Chiefs, Kelsey. Again, this is not going to be an easy win for the Dolphins. But I think what we're hearing in the media that this is just a Dolphins collapse that's waiting to happen. I don't think so. They have a real chance to go into Kansas City and win this game, folks. And these two new additions on the defensive line right here, I think this buys them one or two key stops in third and medium, third long situations. And if Tua plays at a high level, which he obviously can, if Tyreek Hill gets the job done, which I think he will, this Dolphins team could pull off an upset here.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think people are kind of overshadowing this Dolphins team because if you look at the facts, you look at the numbers on paper, the Chiefs, the last 6, 7 games, they have not scored over 30 points in about 6 or 7 games, most notably against a Chargers team who is pretty abysmal right now. The Chiefs were only able to squeak out and win 13-12. I know resting starters, look, that can have an effect on things. But you go to the weeks before that, against the Raiders, they're only able to squeak out 20 points in that game. The Chiefs offense really hasn't been humming quite as much as we thought they have been. And I also want to say the Dolphins, on the other hand, when they faced each other last time, that game was absolutely down to the wire, and a costly fumble is really the only reason the Dolphins get knocked out of that game. So I think this is going to be an extremely close match, like you said. We know it. Vegas knows it. And I think that the Dolphins are going to kind of surprise people as they get everything back together, maybe with help some veteran leadership, and get things back on track in this wild card matchup.
And Miles, I want to actually correct you real quick. You talk about the Chiefs scoring 20 against the Raiders. They actually lost that game. They only scored 14, so it's even worse than you thought, right?
Yeah.
They only scored one offensive touchdown against the Bengals in essentially a must-win game. This Chiefs defense, granted there was different players and situations earlier in the year, held Patrick Mahomes to 14 points. And one final key point that people are sleeping on with this Miami football team is that Vic Fangio has literally been the Patrick Mahomes stopper. He's been the guy, even when Mahomes was loaded with weapons around him, to be the guy to limit the damage that Mahomes and the Chiefs can do. Folks, this is going to be a close game down to the wire. It's going to come on down to Tua versus Mahomes making big plays in the fourth quarter. I think Tua can do it. I think this is a statement game. We saw how the last two games ended up with Tua. I think this is going to be a bounce back opportunity for him. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. I don't know if the Dolphins are going to win. The Chiefs are really, really tough at home. Mahomes seems to find a way to pull things out very clutch. But I think this is going to come down to the wire. I think the Dolphins have an outstanding chance to win this game, and I would not be surprised at all if they pull it off.